Today I interview Rick Evans. Rick is a motivational speaker, entrepreneur, activist, veteran, and author of a book titled My Life for Yours, a memoir about the challenges he's overcome in his life. In our interview, Rick discusses how he navigated the extreme hardships of his childhood, including his mother's incarceration for murder when he was only 6 years old, and how he ultimately embraced leadership, hard work, compassion, and positivity to create a life of abundance and service to others. Rick, it is so nice to have you here. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me, Beth. I'm glad to be here with you.
You are a business owner, you're a father, you're a veteran, you have a nonprofit. You've really created a lot of things in your life, but your road to get there, I think anyone would say, was not easy. I'd like to start at the beginning in your childhood, if we could. And you had some traumatic stuff happen when you were a child, and a particular event with your mother. So if you could start by talking about that, what happened there?
Okay, yes. Childhood was actually very dramatic, big blur. I witnessed my mother commit murder at 6 years old. And from then, life was a roller coaster ride because I never had counseling or anything for that. And just visiting my mother in and out of prison. And actually, that was like a bad thing to mention if your mother was in jail for murder. I thought it was, especially as a kid. So I really never mentioned it to nobody. Kept it to myself the entire time. A lot of people would say, as I was growing up, "Where's your mom?" And I would just say at work or wherever, but they never got to meet her until she actually came home after serving the time and stuff like that. But for the most part, I kept it hidden inside.
What happened? How did she end up killing somebody?
It was another young lady that was dating the same guy that she was dating, and she found out. And she actually took it out on the young lady, actually killed the young lady, ran her over with the vehicle.
And you were in the car?
I was right there outside, yeah.
Or outside, okay. Yeah. So you mentioned that you did visit her. You did maintain a relationship with her through your childhood to whatever extent you could.
Right. And when I was young, of course, family members would get me to a site where you meet up and you go visit people in prison and stuff like that. I remember downtown Philadelphia. But as I got older, I was able to go on my own as I reached a certain age. But yeah, in a nutshell, so to see my mother, well, maybe once a month would be a bus ride, a long bus ride as I can remember. All I know was Muncie. Muncie is a female prison in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's called Muncie.
How long did that go on where you could only see her like that?
Years.
Yeah.
Throughout your childhood, throughout your entire childhood.
What about your father during that time?
He came into the picture, but he was real standoffish. He had a real negative feeling towards her and always was bitter because they weren't together at that time. So he had real negative feelings towards her. And he basically, for revenge, I don't know how they broke up or split up. I'm still a child, so I really didn't know what was going on. We needed some adult situations. And he had animosity towards her. She had animosity towards him. And we were left stuck in the middle. It was 4 of us. I was the middle child. Yeah, I'm next to the oldest. It was 4 of us, but it was difficult. But yeah, we were labeled on the street, less than succeed, basically. They used to tease us, you know what I mean? Because we were always all over the place. I stayed in over 50 houses in Philadelphia. Went from house to house. Nobody have a baby picture of me right now. Nobody can produce it at all. Well, we were all over the place.
How did that happen? Basically, people were saying, okay, we could take care of you now, then hand you off to somebody else.
You can imagine 4 boys. It's hard to take care of 4 boys, so she had to split us up. 2 stay here, 1 stay here, 1 stay over there. You can't, that's not going to do and give 4 boys to somebody to feed and to take care of. And then it was for a week at a time, a couple of days maybe sometimes. We never knew. But because of the instability, your schools, your education's messed up, your school's messed up, you're messed up mentally. You feel like you're not like the other children. And you're not getting your proper care and consideration. And it was difficult. Family alike, a lot of times it was more so her friends, my mother's friends that were caring for us as opposed to family, because the families was like, a lot of people didn't want nothing to do with it. Your mother's in jail for murder. And people are standoffish. Been a lot of standoffish. Yeah, so I just told myself I didn't want to be like that when I grew up. I was always have my doors open, take care of people that I could take care of.
So you mentioned that instability, just that feeling. You're a kid, and I think you were maybe 6 when your mother went to prison. So you're a young kid, you're going around from home to home. Is there any way you can describe what that really feels like as a child? I know children are adaptable. We know that. And they go with what happens to them to some degree. But what did that feel like if you had to put words to it? The feeling of not having a set home.
It was dark. It was dark, but you still had that unconditional love for your mother, and it was just dark. The more people talked about her or said anything negative, the more your love grew and the more your anger grew towards people. Then that's not helping and just making the matters worse. But it was difficult. You go to sleep at night and you hope morning never comes. You try to drown yourself into a bunch of cartoons and wrap yourself around television as much as you can to block out the outside world and what was going on. I really didn't know what was going on. You're still a child. No counseling. You didn't sit down with a counselor 3 or 4 times a week to explain things to you to hope you overcome it. You have to overcome it the best you can. And so that's what I did. And we always wanted to know where she was, wanted to know what she was doing. Letters were important. And if you found somebody to care for, those are the people you cling to or try to just wrap yourself around because you knew they cared and understood things happen, but it's still your mom. And then I just wanted to try to be the best I could be. So whenever she got out, I knew it would be difficult for her having been to prison and stuff like that. It would be a struggle. So I wanted to be able to receive her and help her the best way I could when she came home.
You were a child and you loved your mom, but also I think to this day, there's a compassion that you have for her and the place that she was in when this happened, when she did this thing that got her into prison. So what was that like with you and her, your feelings towards her, or the way you would talk about it, or if you would talk about it, how did that all play out between the two of you?
It was real good. I was actually a favorite son because I looked just like her, and so I was a favorite. But she would always spend her time crocheting or making me something to wear, something that I would like, devoted to making something to share with me whenever I went to see her. We had a bond, and I just knew I had to be there for her because all that time lost, and it was difficult. And when she came home, it was a nightmare in itself all over again. I actually had a job. I was the youngest assistant manager for Burger King in Philadelphia. I was very determined anytime I touched something, I was always trying to go to the top. So I'm the manager at Burger King. And one night, the drive-through window was like, Mr. Rick, there's somebody at the window screaming and stuff and saying this, it's your mother. She don't have no shoes on and nothing. The lady's crazy. I go to the drive-through window, it's my mother. That type of thing. So what do? I have to embrace that. It can be embarrassing, but you have to, how do you deal with it? It's your mother. It's your mother. But that's why in the organization that I have today, that's why I look at people different. Because how people say, hey, that could be your mother. It was my mother at one time. Somebody on the street walking around because she had developmental issues because of the drugs she was taking and everything. She developed a lot of psychological issues. And I probably visited every mental hospital in Philadelphia. Yeah, I used to tell my fellas, hey, I'll be back on the weekend. I'm like, where you going? I'm nowhere. But one guy I used to share it with. He got on the bus with me one time and I went. And I say, because you're riding the bus, you don't have a car. And it took us like 3-4 hours to get there. He's like, where we going? I said, see my mom. Your mom? He was like, I was like, yeah, mom's in here, man. He was like, man, your mom and you didn't let nobody know. It's not nothing you share with somebody. People on the street don't take it the way they should. But we used to take long bus rides. I've been to every mental institution in Philadelphia. They're not in the city. A lot of them on the outskirts of the city. And so you go there, and I went to visit her sometimes, and she would curse and didn't recognize me. And so how do you think that felt? 4 hours out, she didn't recognize me. Let's come 4 hours back, and the doctor and people would come out and say, right now is not a good time because she's not adjusted to the medicine well or whatever, and she wouldn't even recognize me. So you had to take that ride back and adjust. I didn't take the ride back and go see a counselor the following weekend. It's the ride back and adjust. I'm still in junior high school, still going through it. No counseling at all. And to be honest with you, no family was really there to sit down, and they don't know how to deal with it. They didn't talk to you. They didn't know how to talk about it. My father, he never shared 5 minutes with him, about neither incident.
She would be taken into like against her will kind of thing, where she'd have to go into these mental institutions? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, a lot of times it was willingly. She would go in because she wanted to get herself better. But you got to remember these doctors that it was trial and error with medicines back then, and it still is today. They would try this medication to see if it worked, try that medication to see if it worked. But she would have side effects or something else. And then if you drink on your medication, and maybe she had a drink or two after, I don't know. But a lot of times it didn't work. It didn't work out. But she would sign. Then a lot of times I would go to some of these places, and it was nice facilities, and she was okay. She was okay. I was always real particular. I checked the room out. I wanted to know who the doctors were, the nurses were. I wanted to know everything. What was going on? How long was she there? How long was she going to be there? Everything. I'm a child. Things that I should be out there getting more involved with my education and sports. But that was my extracurricular activities right there, is worrying about my mother. And I was the only one to do it out of the 4 sons. Yeah, I was the only one to do it. My older brother went to Minnesota. Goodbye. He left the reins to me. You next in line, you handle it. And he never came. He never came back. So I was like, okay. Then I got 2 under me. Two little brothers under me, so they looking at me. I got it. I can't fault you for taking off. That's what you got. You do it. But then I had to lead the way for the other 2, so I did. Raised them. Yeah, it was way rough.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah. What do you think that was when your older brother left? That was just like, I gotta take care of things. It's just you're the next in line. Is it that simple, or what do you think it was about you?
No. He was getting abused by my father, and he knew what happened to my mother, but he was getting abused by my father. And the bottom line, he's the oldest. He don't have nobody to talk to, so he couldn't deal with it. So he went to Job Corps, and Job Corps sent him somewhere far away, and he ended up being in Minnesota. He stayed there. That's where he camped out at the rest of his life.
But what about you? What was it about you that had you step up and take that role? You could have just said, I'm not going to go visit my mom. I'm not going to check in. Right. You could have done that.
Yeah. Born leadership. That's just it. Born leadership, not giving up. What would my mom do? Those are her kids too. Those are my baby brothers. But I stepped in. They clung to me as well. They loved me as well. So I stepped up. I'm still their older brother. He was my oldest brother. Okay. But see, when he left, I went to the streets. I don't have an older brother, so I went to the streets. I started letting the streets raise me. So I was raised on the streets.
Tell me about that. Tell me about what that means to you, to be raised on the streets.
It's a training ground for anything that happens to you in the world. I was raised right on the streets of Philadelphia, but they never knew it. They never knew it until I wrote a book about it and I started sharing it with them. But I was in 50 different houses. I hung out with guys in West Philly, Southwest. I stayed everywhere, all over Philadelphia. And when they would go home at night and stuff like that, or we finished doing whatever we had to do, they would say, I'm going home. Or they would go home and say, hey, I'm going here to eat. Sometimes I visit their houses. Their parents would love me and say, hey, where's your mom? Where's your mother? And hey, where's your mother? Where's your father? That's a blank. That's a big blank. I would make up something. I would like to meet her. Everybody said they wanted to meet her for 4 or 5 years. They never got to meet her. You know what I mean? But I used to walk into their house and see that dining room table and smell the dinner cooking. And be like, wow. And then they say, hey, I'm ready to eat. I'm going to be a couple hours or whatever. I'll be back. I'll come back and get you around 8 o'clock. I would go walk off into the distance or whatever and come back. But they never knew it. I hid that for my entire time on the block, I would call it, on the block. It's nothing you want to share with nobody. Never really had a place to stay. That's a solid place to stay. I might have been here for a couple of days, here for a week. That's why I wrote a thing in my book called Imagine This, Imagine That, Imagine This. Because at night is it a dream? When I wake up, will it be different? No, it was never different. It was a struggle. Even in school, you look at the people you sit in class, you might not have the proper hygiene that people had, But what can you do? You just didn't. But some counselors reached out because some teachers may have said something. Sometimes I was known to daydream a lot. I was known to daydream. Yeah, I was known for that. And they'll ask you something wrong. But I was intelligent. That I'd come back to the lesson and I could knock a lesson out. But I was known to daydream a whole lot.
I want to hear where you went from there. Okay, so you had this very unstable, you're moving around, you're just doing your best you can, you're visiting your mom. So where was your next stop after that?
When my mother did get out of prison, what I did was went and stayed with her father, which is my grandfather. So I bounced around with him into a few apartments. I may have stayed with him for 2 or 3 years, but then I was in trouble a couple of times. But I was trying to find balance. But at the same time, I was boxing and doing gymnastics. I was trying to do that to offset some of the negative things were going on in my life. So I happened to be the sixth best of the city in the floor exercise. I was actually good with gymnastics and boxing. And when I graduated junior high school, went to high school, but then I got kicked out of high school. And it was bumpy for me, but I had to adjust. It wasn't a straight flight for me. I had to adjust. But they said his grades are good. We're looking at him and his grades are good. So we're not going to send him to an all bad boys school. We're going to give him another opportunity. I took that opportunity and I graduated, went to another school and graduated. So that shows you I fell, but I got back up. I kept trying and trying. I wanted to do the best I could. I knew I couldn't be a failure if I wanted to have my mother succeed. So I tried college. At the same time, remember, I got 2 younger siblings that are on the street. So I tried college. I wanted to try college. I went to college for maybe about a year and a half. I got a call home, talked to my mother on the phone a couple of times, and she was like, "You got to come home. I don't know what you're doing in college. I need you home. I need money. You got your 2 little brothers here. They're driving me crazy. I can't do it." "Okay, Mom, I can't." Me either. So I went home to help her out. So I went home. She had a little house that she rented, and I went home. My little brothers was there, so I helped bring them through school and raise them with my mother. And that's the story. That's how it goes. And then I had to find time for my life. I had to try. I was too busy worrying about it. My life was 75% of my life or more was devoted to helping others out or making sure others were okay. But then my life was in the ruins. I had to figure out what I needed to do.
You ended up in the military. So I'm curious, when did that happen?
For some reason, my younger brother committed a crime. He committed a crime right next door to where my mother lived. Went home. I guess he burglarized the house. Brought the TV into my mother's house. They both ended up in jail. Same jail. So I ended up visiting them in jail. I went down to the jail and I said, "I'm Rick Evans. I'm here to see Audrey Evans and Lamont Evans." And he writing it down. He said, "Who's Audrey?" I said, "That's my mother." "Who's Lamont?" I said, "That's my brother." He said, "Your mother and your brother's in here?" Yeah. I'm sitting down. I got both of them at the table, Beth. And I'm, "Hey, Mom, I love you." I'm looking at my brother. "Man, why'd you do that? Now you got Mommy in here." You know what I mean? I said, "Yeah, y'all gotta. I told him, I don't know how much time y'all getting, but I'm gonna have to go to Minnesota and try. I'm gonna either end up dead or I'm gonna be in here with y'all because I'm not making no money to care for both of y'all. It's real crazy out here." So I called my older brother and told him, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna come out to Minnesota for a little while, just a couple months or something, just see what I need to air out, man. My back's against the wall. They're in jail. Mommy and your brother's in jail. I'm on my way out there." Went out there, and that was a jungle out there in itself. Remember, I'm going out there with nothing but a luggage, and so I found out that I said, "I'm gonna have to go somewhere. I'm gonna have to go into the military or something." So that's why I went into the military from Minnesota. When I joined the military, by the time I graduated at AIT with basic training, it's movies like The Officer and the Gentleman. There's a scene in The Officer and the Gentleman when he graduates, his partners and everybody, their families there. And he just walks around in a circle. I mimicked that same scene. I graduated from AIT and basic training, but I graduated in a fast track program. They put me in a fast track program, meaning this guy's got skills and intelligence. So I graduated at the top. And everybody's family's out there. And everybody's patting me on the back. And "Where's your mom? Where's your pop? Who's there for you?" Just the wind. Just the wind. That's it. And you can see them, everybody going off, car doors slamming, stuff like that. And you know how a crowd slowly disseminates, right? And I'm standing there, I was like, wow, it's ugly, but it's me, lone wolf. So I just embraced the military and made that. But what happened was it was a steady pay. Constantly doing something. I had a purpose. And then when my mother got out, I actually had her come stay with me in the military. So there I was caring for my mother. And then I cared for her until she died. Yeah.
So when you were in the military, were you able to find any sort of sense of family or community in that?
Your leadership but my anger and whatever I had inside, I used in training. You understand what I'm saying? But I actually met a young lady and I got married in the military. Then I had 2 children, 2 daughters. But when I got married, then I'm starting to make my own family. And that's when I brought my mother to see a different side of life. And she loved it. I got a picture of her and I standing on the ocean side and stuff like that. And she loved it. Just bring her out of that environment. But the family, I started building my own family. But that now I have my own family, but then I still had them to care for as well. They're looking towards me, the family in Philadelphia, but I'm building my own family at the same time. And at the same time, trying to excel in the military. That's real demanding. That's 24 hours. And then you deploy. I was in a rapid deployment unit, Kuwait, Iraq.
What was that like when you deployed? What do you take away from those experiences?
I loved it. That was the crazy part. I loved it because I was doing something. I don't know. That's the crazy part of me. I loved it. But I remember one time being on the airplane. It was an 18-hour flight, something like that. We had to refuel in the air. But I personally was hoping the plane crashed. I was tired. Yeah. Everybody else was on there eating and geared up. I was hoping the plane went down to the ground. I didn't care. Every time we hit turbulence, I was like, I hope this is it. But you push through it.
What was that? What do you think got you to right there when you're thinking, I'm wishing the plane goes down? What's going on right there with you?
Just tired, mentally tired, overwhelmed, tired, pushed to the brink. Just not wanting to wake up and deal with whatever comes. Just tired. Just want somebody else to get it. I mean, somebody else deal with it. That type of thing.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
That when you're dealing with a lot of grief and a lot of it stops with you. That's like when my mom passed. Prior to her passing, I was a sole provider. Doctors called me. I had my younger brother. I lived in Virginia and I had my younger brother in Philadelphia. I was going to see about her and because he was quick. But anything that needed my attention, I would take the 1.5-hour drive to Philadelphia. But he was like, we was on the phone. Man, mommy's crying, asking for you. And, all right, I'll be down there. So I got in the car, drove down there. And the last time I was there, it was a radio. And she said, put that radio on jazz. And we did. And she was just talking to me real candid. She already knew it probably that was her last time seeing me. So she was just telling me stuff. Finish your book. Everything. But when I left out of the room, I heard her. She was like fighting with a nurse or something like that. And I just told my little brother, I told him, come on, we walked off. And probably 2 days after that, he called and he said, Mommy passed. But I felt something at where I was living at. I felt her passing and something like that. And I blacked out. Next thing I know, I woke up, fireman was in my house and stuff like that. And my brother asked me, he was like, what would you want me to do? I said, I don't know. She was Muslim. Last thing she was doing was a Muslim, was bury a Muslim. I had family 15, 20 phone calls coming to me about that time talking about barrier Christian. You know what I wanted to say? You wasn't there when she was alive, and now y'all trying to advise me on how to bury my mother? That's when they really found out about me. I told them all they can go wherever they wanted to go, but it wasn't a nice place. I took the flight down to Philadelphia, and we buried her. And there was a sense of relief and a sense of pain and relief. You understand? Because pain because you're missing your mom, but relief because she was in pain. She was in pain. She was in a whole lot of pain prior to passing and been through way more than I can endure. And then she knew it was a burden. She was putting the burden on me, but she knew I could deal with the burden because I loved her as much. You know what I mean?
In the aftermath of her death, what was your reaction? Because you did have such a strong connection with her and you were always taking care of her, it sounds like. So the loss of her, it would seem that it would trigger something to happen. Where did your life go from there?
I had her blacked out. As far as I went into a depressed mode, trying to figure out what to do with myself. I was really lost. So I signed up to go, which was crazy. I signed up to go to Iraq. Ended up staying in Iraq 2005, 6, and 7 for 3 years straight. I was basically on a death mission, but I was just trying to find myself and ended up making it and coming back home. But went to Iraq, came back and just started dealing with it, picking it all piece by piece, dealing with it. You had to deal with it. And I dealt with it. And then I wrote a book, finished the book like I told her I would, and started an organization, Noah's Ark. And that's where I am now with the organization to help the less fortunate, the homeless, the people that's on the street. I can look at them and know exactly what they're going. It's just devastating, but it's getting worse. It's not getting any better, but I feel them. And that's why I started the organization. What
is the specific focus? Is it homelessness, poverty?
Homelessness, poverty, and just being an ear for somebody to talk to and being the link for somebody to say, okay, there's an organization, we know reputable organizations that provide certain assistance and lead people to that organization. But you just be able to say something to somebody, just to talk to somebody. Like it was a lady, there's a couple of people that I got off the street, a lady that I got off the bus stop, those people. And there's a guy who was walking and not too far from where I am. And I sat down and talked to him. I had to sit on the other side of him because when the wind blew, the odor was crazy. But I sat on the other side with him and I just sat there and talked to him, shared a beer. And he said, can you give me a beer? I went and got 2 beers, sat down and shared a beer with him. You know what I mean? And he appreciated it. Then the next time I drove by, I told him I come by every weekend or something like that. I'll go get him something to eat, bring it to him. But that thing right there, just taking time out for people, just seeing where they at. Why are you here? What got you here? You wasn't born there, huh? It wasn't born there, right? Definitely not. When you was born, it's a boy, it's a girl. Oh, he's so cute. Oh, she's so pretty. But as you age, you become, oh, he's so ugly. Oh, she's so ugly, right? It's a difference. But everybody born cute and pretty. Jeffrey Dahmer was cute.
Oh man. What do you see when you're out there? When you're out there though, and you're talking to people and connecting, what kinds of things do you see that have gotten people to that place?
I know what got them there. There's only one thing. It's either drugs or depression. Depression is worse than drugs. If you sometimes wake up and you don't have a purpose. I know a guy right now that I paid his rent for 2 years in Philadelphia. He grew up with me, a childhood friend, went home, and they tossed some quarters at him on the street. And he's got his mind and everything. And I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? He was like, hey, man, started tears coming out his eye. I'm glad to see you. He shook my hand, and when he let my hand go, it was like I had oil on my hand. But I took him to the motel where I was staying. I went to the front desk, got another room, and I went by a dollar store, grabbed all this bleach, soap powder, incense, and I had barber clippers with me already. And I cut his hair, ran the water. I got everything. I knew what to get. I knew what to do. I got trash bags and everything. And he was like, he got in the car with me. And all this took no less than 2 hours. And I did it on purpose. And it was a crowd of people where I took him from. And when I brought him back, they said, see what that boy just did? That's a real friend. You see what that boy, look at that guy. He ain't even been going 2 hours. Came back with a nice bath haircut, looking like new money. Felt good. You look good, you feel good. It only took 2 hours. A hotel room. And we chopped it up the rest of the day, but that's just it. But I found a place for him to get to stay, and I paid his rent for 2 years. And we've been friends to this day. His mom just passed, but he doesn't have a purpose. He wakes up, he has a house, but he wakes up now and he don't have a purpose. Nothing to live for. Do you understand? He's just missing activity. And I talked to him yesterday, just last night, and I told him sometimes before a person's body goes, the first thing is their mind. You got to keep your mind going. Keep calling me, find some activity. Get your little dog or something, a puppy or something. I said, I'm going to come down here and see about you shortly. And he understood that because he's sitting in the house all day, every day, and we just watch Westerns on TV and eat. You already did. So that's my connection. I know when I see a person out there on the street, I know how they got there. Everybody has a different road, but it's similar. But the bottom line is that person has a family who turned their back on them. Nobody that's out there just fell out the sky. You understand what I'm saying? And I know everybody's family hasn't perished, but people turn their backs. People turn their backs for whatever reason. But even organizations are hit and miss. I've tested some of the waters out there. The organizations are not what they need to be. A lot of them are a dog and pony show. And you would be surprised. Police officers don't even want to arrest a homeless person at all. They would drive past them rather than put them in handcuffs and put them in their patrol car. Their patrol car is their second home. That's their home. They don't want to smell them like that. Why will you incarcerate a person with a problem, but you won't just take them off the street when they have a problem and put them in a facility to take care of them? You understand? It's a gap. It's a gap. But when they go to prison, if they got a mental problem, they're going to receive medication, psychological counseling, everything. Why do we have to put them there and you could do a better job out here? Whatever your need is, they got a place for you. You committed that crime. Same thing. So if you're on the streets, whatever your problem is, they should have a place for you for whatever that problem is. But they just let them roam, let them gather, and now look at it. Look, it's all over the place.
So let me ask you, if you're comfortable talking about it, you did have a relatively short stint in prison yourself, and you did well there because of the type of guy you are, which I think anybody listening to this interview can understand. Okay. Right. I'm interested in talking about what was your experience from inside. What was it like? If you would share a little bit about that.
I sure would. It's crazy, man, that when you step off, you end up in prison. First of all, let me tell you what the judge said before she sentenced me. She said, where you been for 46 years? I said, what do you mean? She said, you're 46 years old. You don't even have a traffic ticket. So doesn't that tell you something? But I got to sit here and act. So why aren't you not listening to me? As opposed to 5 criminals with criminal backgrounds. I had a public defender. I didn't have enough money to pay for go battle back and forth. And then I was tired. I didn't want to sit any longer than I already sat waiting for them to see people to come to court. They even reached out to VA. The VA didn't even send nobody down there they were supposed to. But anyway, they went on with the sentence. I ended up doing 2 years in prison. But it's just like I stopped saying, why me? And I said, maybe I'm just here for a reason. You know what I mean? Start looking at it like that. So do what you do best. Lead. And I led. One day I woke up and I wrote this thing down. It was a Christmas list. And the Christmas list had everybody's cell number on it and what their wish would be. And I gave it to the bully. We had a bully in there. I gave it to the bully. And I said, here, read this Christmas list. Read this Christmas list out to everybody. When they read that, the whole place was silent for like an hour. It showed them whoever wrote that is a genius, because I knew what each and everybody's problem was in every cell. You see what I'm saying?
But so let me understand this. Well, let's take a step back.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you're in there, you collect this list, you go to the bully, okay, and somehow you get this bully to read this list?
No, see, the bully, he bullied them, not me. And he liked me. He was cool with me. He didn't bully me, but I call him a bully because I know he could say something to make the whole place shut up, which he always did. And I used to laugh at him. I said, you got him wrapped around your finger on it. He said, shh. And I said, here, read this. It was a Christmas list. But when he read it, it had him on there too. And when he left out, they was like, man, who wrote that, man? Everybody asked him, who wrote that? Can't tell you. But that told them, whoever wrote that, there's a genius in here. Because he knows exactly what's going on in every cell in here. And I know a person till today that got out and he's still shocked by the list. And he know I wrote it.
What were you trying to do there? What was the strategy?
Pull the irregularities out on the people. You understand? Because you can sit back so long and you can hear it, you can see it, what people's shortcomings were and stuff like that. But that's what I wanted to do, was let them know I see it, put it in front of them so they knows. Somebody knows your card, how you can get beat or what you need. You understand what I'm saying? And I did everybody like that. It's like everybody was like, get you more intelligent. You have the answers. They don't even think you belong here. If someone think you're some walking Jesus or something like that. Right? So the warden came in and he said something to me. He said, I don't know what it is about you, but my guard's even talking about you. He said one of his guards went home last night and he shared with his wife, and he was talking about there's an individual in there. They don't even fight no more, and the old people can walk around and they don't say nothing to them no more. You know what I mean? And it's just peaceful. And the guy, he actually came and he told me, he said, hey, I don't know how to tell you this, man, and he wasn't my race or nothing, okay? And he said, I don't know why you're in here, but that's obviously a mistake. He said, I'm a guard, okay? You don't need to be here, and it's obviously a mistake. And they ended up waking me up one morning and telling me, hey, you got to see the warden. So I went to see the warden. He said, I got something on my plate that I need your help with. And he said, I need you to go to death row. I said, it's nice talking to you, Warden, but he said, me back where I just came from. Yeah. He said, you're the only person that I know that has the skills that keep his mouth shut and do this what I had. He said, because they will try to kill you if they knew you wasn't on death row, because that would get them to come out again. See, on death row, they only come out if they got to go to court. And he said, they will try to kill you because they don't have no reason not to kill you, because they're going to die anyway. He gave me all the scenarios. He said, so I need you to just go over there. And everybody else knows you over there, the staff over there. He said, just that staff knows you over there. And you just follow what we ask you to do. We'll have you talk to a couple of people over there and stuff like that. And you'll only be over there for a couple of months or something like that. But you won't eat what they eat. You'll eat good.
So what was their mission? What were they looking for?
They wanted me to help prepare the inmates for execution, like getting the haircuts and stuff like that. And just talk. Yeah. And just talk. So I did it. I said, okay. And I did it. I was like, I seen Brian Nichols come through and a whole lot of other people. It took a lot out of me. It made me lose appetite a lot of times, just talking to them. I don't know what it was. It painted a picture for me because knowing where I was and knowing where they are, I was like, man, I'm nowhere. They ready to get to lethal injection. I just found out so much more that you really don't know unless you're there. You understand? There's organizations that send them money. They get all kinds of their cells are filled with cookies and goodies and honey buns and soups, and they would give me Jolly Ranchers. I definitely asked them why they were there. I just told them triple homicide. I just stuck with that, triple homicide. And they would tell me why they were there and how long they've been there. Oh, God. And it was devastating.
Did you feel an ability to connect with them? Did you feel compassion?
I really felt compassion, but the disconnect where it's nothing. It's not like the guard said to me. You don't need to be here. They went the extra mile and they committed heinous crimes or whatever, but it was a one night thing. And they had even a guy over there that was the pastor for death row. He was so minds changed, but the action's already been done. You understand what I'm saying? And just the punishment. Now he's got to face his punishment, which is lethal injection. And then there's one guy I talked to him. That's the Christmas killer, the Santa Claus killer, whatever. And all this is from Georgia. And the UPS killer. He came home. He was a good guy. He's married to a woman. He wanted to surprise his wife. Came home, and I seen the movie. And he surprised her. He goes upstairs. She's laying back down with another man. He just pulled out a knife, started stabbing them both. Put her in the trunk of his car, drove around for 3 days with the body in his car, and then got so tired he just pulled up to the police station and said, "Hey, you're looking for me." All these guys are in there. So yeah, it's crazy. So you can imagine what that does to you to hear their stories. And then I had a guard right there. That guard could not leave my cell while I was cutting their hair, and they would put their hands through the gate and they would take the handcuffs off of them and stuff like that. But if I sensed anything, or that guard, he was coming through that door. I've seen people since I've been home on TV that got lethal injection. I was like, wow, because I interviewed them. It's people that's been in there for 20, 30 years. Yeah, that long. I got bit on the back by a rat. When I was laying down, rats just crawl and I'm on top bunk, and I was looking on the list. What's that? And said, rats. I said, what? And they said, rats have been here longer than you. They're going to be here. And I knew I felt something. I was like, oh, it was just like a big old fist on my back the next morning. I finished the book while I was in there writing it, but when I got out, soon I got my hands on $500-something. I used that money to publish the book.
Yeah, it strikes me that through all of these experiences, and you do talk about your innate leadership, and at some point you said they come to you because you seem like the guy who has all the answers. And so it makes sense to me that after a while, all of that, being the guy who has the answers or being the guy who's taking care of things, is exhausting, right? Like why you get to that point where you're just exhausted.
To be honest with you, and there I wasn't exhausted. I felt it was needed. The leadership was needed.
And that strikes me too, when you talk about people that you find on the streets who are homeless, that depression is such a big thing, and the lack of purpose, even with that guy that you've spoken about who you pay his rent, everything. And so how much do you think that just really that lack of purpose, that lack of meaning, depression that sets in, how much is that a part of what is happening when you are in prison and you're talking to people there, when you're out on the streets? How much is that a play into all of these people you've met or seen?
Big play. The end result is everybody in there, they have to start refocusing. And I explain two different energies to them. Like when I go talk to them, when I sit down and talk to them, I say, you got negative energy, you got positive energy. Whenever you used all your energy to do something negative in the action, you said, I'm going to go do it. You got up and did it. I said, on the positive side, you got to do the same thing. You got to say, I'm going to do it. And you got to get up and do it no matter what. I said, like, I see it going on in here all day. I can see a person over there talking about, I'm going to get up in a few minutes if that guy keeps talking, and I'm going to go over there and slap him. The guy actually gets up and he goes over there and slap him. You said you was going to do it and you done it. I said, it's negative energy. When you get out of here and say, I'm going to get up in the morning, by 10 o'clock, I'm going to have a job, go get it. And do the same thing. But depression and not having a purpose has a lot to do with it. And that can lead to homelessness. A lot of people don't have a purpose and you're just out there. I see some of the people that's on the same bus stop every day. If you think if they had somewhere else to be there, they would be there.
But also talking to you, you have strong intuition and you understand people. And a lot of that probably comes just naturally and some from all of your experiences and a whole mix. But it's understandable, I think, how people can end up in situations where they don't feel positive energy, where they haven't really seen it. They don't feel it. And so you have somehow found that inside yourself. But on the other hand, it's also very understandable how sometimes people, they have a different outlook, whatever. What would you say about that with what you find inside yourself compared to what in other people? What is that difference?
It is the experience and the compassion, and it's just what we see when we look at something. Like when I'm driving all day, one of my buddies said it. He said he was with his wife and they drove past a homeless situation. And he was like, see, we just drove past that. But see, he said, Rick could drive past that and he'll feel something. And that's what it is. We can all look at the same picture and get something different from the picture based on what's on the picture. It's just about what you feel, what you experience, and where you experience it in your heart and your mind. A lot of people drive past the same person every day, but they have guilds on. They don't see it. I see it and I feel it. I even know what the solutions are, but am I in the position to do it? Change the world? No. Or change the situation? No. But what do? Do you just join the rest of the bandwagon and drive past? No, you do what you can. And that's what I do. I do what I can. And then I hang it up at night. Do what I can.
Exactly. And you know what? That does change the world. In my mind, it does change the world. Obviously, nobody can fix everything. And there's always stuff going on that is just beyond one's power to deal with. Right. Anytime you step out, anytime you do anything, that's changing things. It's creating something different. It's creating something different than was there before.
I agree.
You've started a business. You have this nonprofit, Noah's Ark, and you're also a father. What has that been like being a father?
Productive, purpose, definitely purpose. Father and a grandfather. Phone's always ringing, but that's a good thing because you can say it rings too much all you want. What if it didn't ring? See, ask yourself that. I'd rather have it ring too much than don't ring at all. Yeah, so it's good. Purpose. The daughters are well. Grandkids are well. None of them ever experienced anything that I've been through, which was my goal, to make sure that they have it, and they have not. So that's good.
And you have a business as well. And so basically you've really built a lot of things. You've built a whole environment for yourself that's so different from where you came from.
And then anything that I do, I use life experiences in some way to align with the business or anything that I get involved with. I've seen a lot of suffering and a lot of tragedy not to excel in anything. I'll go full speed ahead. I won't feel no pain. I just look for gain when I'm doing something. And that's where the drive comes from. All the life experiences tied together and I move forward.
Yeah, it's amazing. Is there anything else that you'd like to get out there that you'd like to say, lessons learned, any other thoughts you have?
Lessons learned is each one reach one and don't turn your back on nobody because it could be you, it could be somebody in your family. But at the end, when all this is over with in the world, what will your report card read? What have you done to help someone else besides yourself? Because a lot of people in the world have grown selfish. And I could turn my hand in just like a lot of other people, but I feel like you owe it to someone else to reach. Everybody always saying, God bless you, God bless. God bless everyone to be able to bless someone. So you have a blessing in you to be able to bless someone. Just do it. No matter how minimal it is, just do it and never give up.
I like that. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. I really appreciate you being here.
You're welcome, Beth. I enjoyed speaking with you. Get my message across.